What's up, everyone? My name's Nick.
And I'm Em.
And welcome into the Ominous Archives. So today, for episode 28, we're going to be talking about one of the most controversial tools in the world of the paranormal, the Ouija board.
Oh, fun.
Whether you see it as a harmless party game, or like I've mentioned in a few episodes, a portal to something darker, the Ouija board has a fascinating and creepy history. And what makes it even creepier are the stories that surround this board. So light a candle or two, turn down the lights, and remember, never play alone. Now, before the Ouija board was a horror movie staple or a game your cousin dared you to play at a sleepover, it started out as a tool for spiritual communication. The origins of the Ouija board trace back to the late 1800s during the rise of Spiritualism, a religious movement based on the belief that the dead could communicate with the living, and it followed the Civil War with so many grieving Americans who were desperate to reconnect with loved ones who were lost way too soon. So, with all that, mediums became popular and seances were pretty much the norm. You weren't cool if you weren't doing seances at this point. And then in the 1890s, in 1890, Elijah Bond, a businessman, patented what he called a talking board. It was mentioned as both a mystical device and a fun novelty. Now the name Ouija, or Ouija, depending, I kind of feel like it's how you pronounce it's where you're from. We say Ouija, you may say Ouija. It was supposedly given during a session with the board itself, and the board claimed it meant good luck in ancient Egyptian. Spoiler, it definitely doesn't mean good luck. The name compounded from French, oui, and German, ja, both meaning yes. I don't know how I do those pronunciations, but I just went with it, you know?
No.
I'm feeling it.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. But the board's popularity exploded with William Fuld. He's often credited as the father of the Ouija board when he took over the marketing, and after that, it wasn't long before the Parker Brothers and later Hasbro turned into like a mass-produced game that we now see on the shelves today, right between Monopoly and Life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can go to your local Target and buy a Ouija board if you want.
I kind of find it funny that it's right between Monopoly and Life.
Yeah.
It's
a little ironic if you say so.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Now, I have a quick side story about Fuld. It's said that he could actually be the first victim of the board, as he had a fatal accident at his Hartford Avenue factory, which he claimed the Ouija board told him to build. Now, he was overseeing an installation of a flag on the roof, and an iron railing gave way, and he fell off the roof of the structure to the ground. Now, he survived the fall, and an ambulance was called and picked him up, and he was all good when he got into the ambulance. Now, the only problem was, when they went to rush him to the hospital, the ambulance hit a bump, and a broken rib that he had shifted, piercing his heart and killing him instantly.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's like the absolute worst luck ever.
Yep. Yeah, you survived a fall from a rooftop.
Right.
And then on the way in the ambulance,
that's terrible.
You get killed because they hit a bump. If you guys can hear that, Archie has his, it's like a toy pickle in the background. It's got crinkly paper in it. So that's what that crinkle noise is. But, I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so Fuld was what some say the first victim of
I mean,
the
I
Ouija
feel
board.
like that's a pretty fair thing to say.
It's a pretty fair assessment, I think. Now, to understand the Ouija board, we have to kind of become the Ouija board.
Get out of here.
Well, I mean, we don't really have to. I'm not actually not sure how we would become one. I guess you could draw the letters and stuff on yourself.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Anyway.
Get me to understand this Ouija board, please.
We're just going to go back to the 19th century.
Oh, perfect.
Specifically to a religious and philosophical movement called Spiritualism. Spiritualism emerged in the 1840s in upstate New York, which was a hotbed of religious revivalism known as the Burned Over District. Famously known as the Fox Sisters, Leah, Maggie, and Kate all played a pivotal role in the birth of modern spiritualism in the 19th century. Maggie and Kate claimed to have communicated with spirits through raps and other sounds, sparking a movement that gained immense popularity. While they later confessed that the rappings were a hoax, their initial success had a lasting impact on the development of spiritualism.
How real of them to be like, yeah, actually, that first part was a hoax.
Well, he said it was a hoax, and it was one of those, because the sisters kind of started arguing.
I see.
They started all fighting. So the one was like, oh, yeah, like, I forget who it was, but she was like, oh, I'm kind of like a ventriloquist, and she, like, cracked a joint or something and, like, made it sound from somewhere else.
Got it.
So that's why she ended up wanting to, like, take it back, because I guess they could actually do it, but they used it as a fake. So their story ends up spreading like wildfire, and they end up holding like public séances in New York and gaining like a bunch of followers. Spiritualism taught that the dead could communicate with the living, usually through mediums or some kind of physical manifestations, like knocks, table tipping, and automatic writing. It wasn't just fringe believers either. Mary Todd Lincoln held seances in the White House after the death of her son Willie, and well-known figures like Sir Arthur Anthony. Where did I pull that name from? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, became an outspoken spiritualist. The movement grew rapidly, especially during and after the American Civil War, between like 1861 and 1865-ish, with hundreds of thousands of dead and grieving families. They were desperate for closure.
Which is like really sad that like that's why like that market was so big then.
Yeah. I mean, they totally took...
Because you had so many people that were just like grieving their literal families. Like that's so depressing.
Totally took it for like granted.
For sure.
Spiritualism offered them hope that death was not the end, and that the loved ones were just a message away.
I get the incentive. I do.
Hope. I mean, hope is a very powerful thing.
But I feel like hope is also a really sad thing to have sometimes. Like, I feel like it could also be like really sad. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it can go both ways.
Yeah.
But I think giving people hope definitely can do a whole lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, for you.
Mm-hmm.
And by the late 1880s, seances were a regular part of middle and upper class social life. But communication wasn't always fast. Mediums had to interpret knocks and taps, letter by letter, which was time consuming. And that's where the talking board came into play. It became faster as like and a more direct method for spiritual contact.
Right, you can cut out one of your lines of communication. Let's just get right to the...
Yeah, instead of like a...
Yeah.
It's just a whoop, whoop, right to a letter.
Yeah.
So now we have entering Elijah Bond, who patented the first Ouija board in 1890. And then after that came William Fuld, who, like we said earlier, he really popularized it and mass-produced it, branding it as the mystical yet marketable object. And when they did this, they just shoved it right in between, like checkers and chess, like in between.
It's so funny. We would go from
things.
checkers and chess to now it's right in there between Monopoly and Life.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about it a little bit earlier.
Literally.
And William Fuld, I'm definitely not saying his last name right, but
it's a weird, that's a weird last name.
He actually, I'm pretty sure he worked for Bond and like saved up the money or whatever and ended up buying the rights for the Ouija board or something like that from Bond. I think that's kind of how it worked or something like that. So what started out as a grief-driven religious movement was turned into a household game, but it's one that many say never lost its original connection to the other side.
Well, I can imagine not. Like, they created this thing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was for.
It's just as time goes on, you're going to run into some people who probably are not as friendly as you would like.
And I heard somewhere else, too, that they, like, back around the time when this was coming out, we're going to dive into the rules in, like, a minute or so. Depends on how fast I can get there. But, when you were in, like, a relationship and stuff back then, like, even holding hands and like touching and stuff like that was like taboo.
Yeah.
This kind of gave a way to do that.
Yeah.
So some say,
that's crazy.
It was kind of a like marketing thing.
Yeah.
So younger couples and stuff like that could actually like touch hands
Which
and
is so wild.
hit elbows and stuff. Yeah.
Like, this is a little off topic, but just like answer the question. Do you believe in mediums?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe in mediums as well. I was just curious. I feel like people either believe one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally think that, like, you have, we'll call them, like, the fake mediums.
Yeah.
But then I also think you definitely have, like, there's definitely people who are, I guess, I don't know if they classify themselves as, like, sensitive or whatnot, but you definitely have that.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, back to your...
Yeah, well, it kind of flows right into it. So if you're a skeptic, this part's kind of up your alley. As it says, the Ouija board works through the ideomotor effect. I think it's either ideo or ideomotor effect.
Close enough.
It's like tiny unconscious muscle movements that are like guiding the planchette. So think of like, we don't tell our heart to beat. We don't tell our lungs to breathe. Like, we don't have to be like, breathe.
Yeah.
It just does it. That's what this is kind of saying.
Right.
You're playing, you're investing time into it and stuff, so you're subconsciously moving it.
Right.
But for believers, this is a channel to the other side. And it's one that doesn't always necessarily let you hang up that call.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a believer.
I would also agree.
And I feel that you really, for it to kind of work and stuff, and like have a paranormal experience, you got to get yourself in like, it's weird, like the right mindset or like a feeling.
Yeah. You have to be accepting, I feel.
Yeah, that's a good word to put it. I was going to say, when Frankie and I went to Gettysburg for the first time, we were driving in, and I kind of took a couple like moments where I just, on the drive, was like kind of quiet and just taking in the land and taking in like what happened here. And I guess it's kind of almost like a womb.
Yeah.
Like, you just kind of feel your body like hit the right frequency or whatever. And she kind of did the same thing. And at one point, I just took like just a nice deep breath, and that's, I guess, when everything, I kind of felt like level with Gettysburg or however you would describe it. Like, Wom's a good way to kind of describe it. And we got all kinds of experiences when we were in Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I got definitely two or three like really good ones, and we're gonna cover them in a later episode, so
Just
put a
hold your
little-
horses.
yeah,
Put a pin in it.
Yeah, put a pin in it, put a post-it note on that one. We're going to come back to them. But what makes this board so infamous isn't necessarily the board itself.
All right.
It's the stories, in case anyone was kind of questioning, like, oh, it's just a board. Like, blah, blah. No, it is the stories
The
that
lore
come with this.
that come with the board.
Yep. That is what makes this so infamous.
Right.
The ones that don't end the sessions, you're asking for some stuff.
Right. You're asking for trouble. There's rules to this.
We're going to dive into some of the creepiest real-world encounters with the Ouija board. But first, I kind of think it's kind of right on topic to kind of discuss the rules.
Yes. See? There's rules to this.
Definitely. I would say the most dangerous rule.
Most important rule. I feel like it's got to be up there.
You'll kind of get what I'm saying.
Watch you not say the first rule that I'm thinking of.
The most dangerous, we'll air quote, rule is never use it alone.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going with.
It said that using it alone is considered like the most dangerous way to use the board. There's no one there to kind of help you if something goes wrong.
Right, like why would you want to put yourself in that situation by yourself?
Some people say it makes it an easier target for you for like malevolent spirits.
Right.
Now, the second rule, which is I would say, most important rule, always say goodbye.
Yeah.
At the end of every session, always move the planchette to goodbye. This is believed to close the spiritual door and end the communication. If you don't, it's thought to leave the door wide open for entities to linger. Maybe what was that school, Em?
For our...
Yeah.
Maybe somebody just didn't close a Ouija board.
That's what I'm saying. We've had a few discussions now where I'm like, I bet you somebody didn't close a Ouija board. This is probably just a good one in general. Don't use it in your home.
Yeah.
It's recommended by investigators not using a Ouija board in your house. Use it outside your home or in a neutral space. So if something does come through, it doesn't have the ability to attach itself to anything in your living space.
Right. Then you got bigger problems.
You've got yourself your own Annabelle, which is apparently missing. By the time this comes out, she may have been found.
She's probably found by now.
At this point, when we're recording this, she is missing.
She's currently MIA.
Missing. Yep. Don't ever ask about death. So don't ask questions like, when will I die? Or ask about somebody else's death.
See, I feel like that's, like, ominous. Like, I wouldn't want to ask it about, like, when I'm gonna die.
No, I don't think... That would have to be, like, a real... Almost, like... I guess, like... I don't know. I don't think I would ask it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to know. I'd be a little paranoid, but at the same time, on the flip side, I'd be like... Oh, you'd have to, like... Almost kind of like Tim McGraw, that shit.
Yeah.
You, like... Live, like, when
Tim
you're dying.
McGraw, that shit.
You know what I mean?
I like that, yeah.
Asking that stuff is seen to invite darker spirits who will tend to manipulate and lie to try and instill the fear into you.
And let me tell you, it would work for me. I'd be scared.
Archie's chomping down
on his pickle.
on his pickle. So it's getting to him. He was nice and quiet, and now we're talking about the rules, and he's
You
freaking
worked
out
him
again.
up.
Okay, he's all worked up. Don't provoke spirits.
I feel like that is common sense, I fear.
There's a lot of people who do that because they want the proof. It's not a good idea. It's
right? Like,
never
I'm
a good
not
idea.
mocking a possible spirit.
If I'm a spirit, let me tell you, I'm going to spite your ass, and I'm just going to latch onto you if you're provoking me.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to make your life miserable.
Right.
So, I don't think it's a good idea. Most paranormal investigators are going to tell you it's not a good idea. Now, this is the one where people may get a little uncomfortable with this, but never trust the spirit that spells Zozo.
Yeah.
Or any similar names.
I've heard this one before. The dogs are scared. Do you hear them?
Yeah, well, Kobe kind of does that when he just wants attention.
They're freaking out.
I will tell you, you know what? Side note, I was reviewing this earlier, And I was in the middle of just putting a couple notes down on like stuff I wanted to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And my computer, the document that I have opened on it,
Yeah.
completely closed out and then reopened and went all the way to the beginning again.
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yep. So, we're going to try and pass whatever that is, probably on the M. I don't feel like dealing with it.
Nice.
Well, we were talking about Zozo. So, if the planchette starts moving between ZO and MAMA, which is another name it goes by, end the session immediately. These are commonly reported names for this demonic or manipulative entity. I feel like he or it, that's going to be your biggest, most common entity you deal with when it comes to this.
Right.
So, after Zozo, there is making sure you keep your board clean. Now, they say spiritually and physically. Many users like to cleanse the board before and after using it with sage, salt, or holy water, depending upon their beliefs. And even skeptics follow this ritual for the sake of tradition, maybe some peace of mind. I think it's kind of like also a respect thing. Even if you are a skeptic, you might be like, I don't believe in this stuff, but why give it the opportunity?
Right.
You know? I'm cool with how it is. I don't believe in it, but why open the door?
Yeah.
Why would I want to find out that way? Now, you always want to use a designated reader. So, like, one person to ask questions, kind of help guide the session. You don't want a million people or the three
That's
of you.
overwhelming for anybody.
Yeah, you don't want everybody asking you questions. So you just kind of have one person ask the questions, guide the session along. Don't use it when you're emotionally vulnerable. Now, I feel like that's also a big one.
Yeah.
Because if you are feeling unstable or you are down, scared, grieving, angry, they definitely, like a demonic thing or malicious thing is going to want to latch to you. And it's going to make it easier. So you definitely want to be in the right mindset, knowing what the, air quote, possibilities could be.
Yeah.
Don't leave the planchette on the board. So when you're actively not using the board, remove the planchette, because that could also potentially keep the connection open. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that people may take for granted because they may use the Ouija board as like a decorative item.
Yeah.
Which I guess that kind of flows into the... What am I looking for here? It kind of flows into like a... Well, if you buy one, say you bought it, you took it out of the box, you never used it, you just made it a decorative item.
Yeah.
So like you literally just opened it, put it on a table, put the planchette on it.
Right.
Does that open a thing? Does it not?
I don't know. I'm not taking the chance.
Again,
I don't know.
why risk it? So, now that we've kind of gotten through all the rules, we should dive into one of the most infamous Ouija board cases in American history. This is the true case that inspired The Exorcist.
Mm.
Now, when I was reviewing this, I kept saying what was it? The Experimentist? Or something?
Have you never seen The Exorcist?
Yeah, a long time ago.
No, I was going to say.
But I just couldn't get Exorcist right. I kept saying Experimentist.
It just wasn't coming out of my mouth right.
I don't know why I'm not correlating that, but whatever. So this all began in 1949 in Cottage City, Maryland, with a quiet 13-year-old boy known to history under the I just said this right earlier, and now I'm not going to get this right. Pseudonym? Yeah. Ronald Doe. His real identity has never been confirmed by the public, but what happened to him has become the stuff of legend and terror. So Ronald was reportedly very close with his aunt, who was a spiritualist, who introduced him to the Ouija board. And she had a sudden death So, in like grieving, the boy tried to contact her using Ouija board. And at that point, things went wrong. Apparently super wrong. At first, it was kind of like little things. So there was some scratching sounds behind walls. The furniture was shifted when no one touched it.
I don't know if that's a small thing, but okay.
I mean, furniture moving without anybody touching it is
huge.
not. I don't know if we talked about this before, but like one scene in Paranormal Activity, and then I think it was like the third one. I don't know. That always made me be like, oh hell no, was when Toby took all the furniture.
Yeah.
And like if the camera's like panning, I think it's on the fan, and it pans into the kitchen and all the stuff's there, and then it pans back and everything's gone. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what happens. Like one of them wakes up or one of them comes down and like everything just crashes back down. And I'm like, nope. He took the furniture and he gave it back. It was not. That was a great movie. There was also unexplained footsteps in the hall. The family at this point kind of thought they had a rodent problem until the religious artifacts that were on the walls began to shake violently or fly across the room. Then Ronald's behavior started to change. He would go into these trance-like states, speaking in guttural voices, and react violently to anything religious, especially like crosses or holy water. They would find deep scratch marks across his chest and his back, and sometimes the scratches were reportedly even shown to spell the words hell or evil. So at this point, terrified and desperate, Ronald's family, they first sought help from the Lutheran ministers, then psychiatrists, and then finally the Catholic Church. Their journey led them to St. Louis, Missouri, where Father William Bowden and Father Walter Halloran, yeah, we're going to say Halloran, agreed to perform an exorcism. Now, over the course of a month, more than 30 ritual exorcisms were performed. Witnesses reported violent thrashing, objects levitating, and Ronald speaking in unknown languages. And at one point, Father Halloran was even physically attacked and suffered a broken nose during one of them.
Damn.
And just as suddenly as it all began, stopped. After the final dramatic confrontation, Ronald reportedly shouted out that the demon was gone and he returned to normal. He went on to live a quiet life, a quiet, anonymous life, never spoke publicly about what happened. He just kind of faded off into the sunset and did his thing.
See, that's wild, because if something like that happened to me, I'm beating that horse till it's like literally like, what do you mean? And I always think the craziest part of like, and I feel like if you've seen like The Exorcist or like any movie where like an exorcism occurs, it's always like they start like randomly fluently speaking a language that they don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. How do you explain that? Because how actually else do you explain that? Like you just start fluently speaking a language you've never spoken? This
has nothing to do with this. I mean, unless he got an organ. But I feel like it's been like recent years in medical history that they've transplanted organs. I've heard things of like people who got a kidney who never drove a stick shift car and then all of a sudden could get into a stick shift car and just drive it. Or could like pick up the guitar and just start playing it.
The guitar, it's wild.
It's wild.
Human body is insane.
The human soul's insane. Yeah. Now, this tale reached the ears of William Peter Blatty, who turned it into the 1971 novel The Exorcist. 2 years later, it hit the big screen and terrified a generation.
Me included.
But behind the head-spinning horror, green vomit, there was a real boy, a real exorcism, and one real Ouija board. Yeah,
it's actually insane.
The Catholic Church, they've always kind of treated claims of possession with like deep skepticism and like scrutiny. But in the case of Ronald Doe, the evidence was disturbing enough for the Archdiocese of St. Louis to approve an official exorcism, which was rare and a serious action even at that time.
Right, you know, if they're performing an exorcism, it needs to be done.
Oh yeah, it takes so much to get an
Yeah.
exorcism performed. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
apparently like crazy how like the steps or hoops you have to jump through. Following the case, the church reaffirmed its warning against dabbling in occult practices, especially with tools like Ouija boards, which they believe could serve as a gateway for demonic forces. The Ronald Doe exorcism was used in religious circles as a cautionary tale that the dangers of the occult were no longer theoretical, that they were real, and they were horrifying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just that story there, being like, that's your big one.
Right.
That's the main one.
It's enough. It's more than enough for me, honestly.
Now, after the release of the exorcism, the public fear intensified. The sales of Ouija boards, though, remained strong, but now many didn't see them as toys, but they saw them as something dark and dangerous.
Right.
What was once sitting alongside Monopoly and checkers became forever linked to dark practices in the public imagination. So now we're going to move on to the Zozo phenomenon.
I like the name. Zozo. It's fun.
Yeah, apparently the more you say it, the more
Okay.
chances of, like, I don't know, him, like...
I don't like the name that much. Let me take it back.
Yeah. So now, we have a more modern and sinister figure in the world of Ouija boards. And it's a name that will send shivers down anybody's spine, pretty much, if you know Ouija boards. From seasoned paranormal investigators to the rookies to...
I know his name, so...
Yeah. And that's Zozo.
Right.
According to the Dictionary of Witchcraft by Colin Day Plancy, Zozo is described as a demonic trickster entity who often pretends to be benign at first, drawing users into the conversation before revealing a darker, more malevolent presence. The earliest signs of a Zozo encounter usually involve the planchette sliding rapidly between the letters Z-O-Z-O over and over again, sometimes often faster than what seems humanly possible. It gets described as frantic, obsessive, and deeply unsettling. The most well-known account comes from Darren Evans, who first shared his experiences on online forums and later on his website. In the early 2000s, Evans claimed that Zozo entered his life during a Ouija session in Oklahoma. At first, it seemed like a typical encounter. Mysterious answers, strange messages, but things kind of escalated. He reported that Zozo began tormenting him outside of his session. He experienced nightmares, shadow figures, objects moving on their own, and a creeping sense that something evil was watching him at all times. Relationships in his life deteriorated. His daughter allegedly nearly drowned in a bathtub under mysterious circumstances. Evans believed that Zozo had latched on to him and he wasn't going to let him go. Now, his story picked up steam on paranormal blogs and discussion boards, gaining traction as more people began to come forward with similar stories. They all kind of described sudden mood swings and aggression during or after Ouija board sessions, feeling of oppression and dread, technological interference, phones glitching, lights flickering, batteries draining, etc. Apparitions or phantom voices whispering Zozo into the night.
Nope.
The phenomenon was featured in a chilling episode of Ghost Adventures, in which investigators tried to contact Zozo and reported severe psychological and physical effects, including nausea, panic attacks, and sudden aggression. The case was so popular that it even inspired a low-budget film titled I Am Zozo in 2012. I've never seen that or heard of it.
Never heard of it either. I didn't even know he had a movie.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Look at him go. So skeptics claim that the Zozo phenomenon may be a product of the ideomotor effect, where people unconsciously move the planchette mixed with internet lore and mass suggestion. So it's that whole,
Right.
you want to believe, you're going to make it happen, and you don't even know you're making it happen.
Yeah.
But believers argue that Zozo is not just a figment of our collective fears. He's real, and he's waiting. Whether you think Zozo is a psychological manifestation, a cultural myth, or a demonic force, one thing is clear. Those who speak his name never forget their experience. So now, we're going to head on back to 2014 to an orphan's spiritual journey. It was a time when social media was exploding with raw, unfiltered content.
Very much.
And one night, a 16-year-old girl in Mexico, Alexandra Huerta, was caught on video in what looked like full-blown possession. Groaning, laughing uncontrollably, speaking in voices that wasn't her own.
Nope.
And tied to a stretcher by paramedics. Then she was tied to a stretcher from paramedics. I think I vaguely remember this when it came, like when it was going around.
I was
I'm not
so
sure.
young in 2014 that I literally, I do not recall. I would have been 13.
That would make me 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Dang, that's crazy. You were my age.
Yeah, I was your age now. Weird. Her story almost, instantly went viral.
Yeah.
But, what kind of really happened that day? So, she was an orphan who never knew her parents, and she was trying to contact them using a Ouija board. Now, she wasn't alone. Her brother and her cousin were with her, and before the seance, all three of them ingested something known locally as bellflower. But its actual name is, I'm going to butcher this, but we're going to go for it. Brugmansia? Brugmansia, maybe? I don't know. It's a hallucinogenic plant, also known as angel's trumpet. Maybe we'll just call it angel's trumpet.
There you go. Give it the street name.
Yeah. It's used in shamanic rituals in parts of Latin America to access the spirit world. Now, angel's trumpet isn't just a herbal tea. It's packed with compounds like scopolamine and atropine. I got that one. I knew atropine. Appreciate all the help, Em.
Anytime.
Now, these substances are known to introduce powerful hallucinations, delirium, memory loss, and even full-blown psychotic episodes. In fact, the effects are so intense that people under its influence often can't tell what's real and what's imagined. They might just see terrifying visions, hear voices, or lose all sense of self. In some cases, users report conversations with spirits or entities, and these experiences can feel completely real to them.
Yeah.
So, the big question was Alexandria possessed, or was she simply hijacked by a drug? Now, her guardians did admit to encouraging the seance and say she was never the same during those hours. They described her convulsing, speaking in tongues, and threatening harm to herself. They even tried to perform their own version of an exorcism when local priests refused to intervene. To them, this wasn't just a bad trip. They believed something came through during the Ouija board session. But one form of medical point of view, the hospital later confirmed what you might expect. She was suffering from effects of the angel's flute? Angel's trumpet?
Angel's flute?
I tell you, that scientific name is rough. The angel's flute intoxication.
No, it's angel's trumpet.
Angel's trumpet intoxication. Boy, She had the classic symptoms: numbness, spasms, visual and auditory hallucinations, and confusion. She reportedly had no memory of what happened, and that, in itself, is typical of the drug. It's not like psychedelics where you come out of it with insight. This is more like being dragged into a nightmare while you're awake.
Well, that's no fun. What the heck?
But you still can't ignore the cultural context. In regions like Tepoztlan, where shamanic traditions run deep. Hey, it was rough. Where shamanic traditions run deep, the boundary between spiritual and psychological experiences is blurry. When a young girl, grieving the loss of her parents she never knew, seeks answers from the other side, and something terrifying happens, do you chalk it up entirely to brain chemistry, or is it possible that grief, belief, and biochemistry combined to open a door? That's definitely something at this point we can't explain. Now, we actually have some chilling real-life cases where the Ouija board actually played roles in some horrific crimes. We're going to start in 1930 in Buffalo, New York. Man, what is with these names? Clothidal Marchand? I think it's Marchand.
That's a crazy first name. Clothidal?
Clothidal, right?
Clothide? I don't know.
Well, she was beaten to death.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the killer was an acquaintance persuaded by Lila Jimerson using a Ouija board. Jimerson convinced Nancy Bowen that Clothidal, I'm butchering that and I apologize, was a witch responsible for Bowen's husband's death, and that Bowen was next. Bowen, unable to read, trusted the Ouija's message and helped murder Clothidal. Both women ended up pleading guilty to manslaughter.
That's actually wild.
Right? In 1933, 15-year-old Maddie Truly shot her father twice.
Oh.
At first she claimed it was an accident, but later said a Ouija board told her to kill him so her mother, Dorothea, could marry someone else. Dorothea assured Maddie that she wouldn't be arrested, and then Dorothea was convicted. She was convicted, but later had her conviction reversed due to the lack of evidence that Maddie was truthful. She ends up getting unconvicted because they don't know how true Maddie is.
There you go.
I guess that works. In 1976, Gary Gilmore shot 2 men and demanded his own execution. His brother later revealed that his mother believed that she conjured a demon via a Ouija board in childhood, which haunted their family. Gilmore was executed, though whether he believed the board's power is not known. Now that whole story, Gary Gilmore, that is a very small excerpt of it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because it goes into how it's messed with the family the whole time, and it's messed with Gary, and he ends up getting killed in Utah by a firing squad.
Whew. Dang.
Mm-hmm. But they kept trying to stay his execution. I think it's stay.
Yeah.
It got, I think it was twice it did. And then finally he was like, "Can you just let me die? I want to die."
Right.
And they finally killed him by firing squad. In 1983, teen Bunny Dixon and her boyfriend, along with another couple, claimed a Ouija board told them to leave Florida, join a carnival, and fund their trip by robbing and murdering a motorist.
What?
After killing 25-year-old Knock Van Dang, I hope I got that right, they were arrested and convicted. I really need to work on name pronunciations. But
Wow,
these are wild.
That is rough. That is crazy though. What do you mean a Ouija board convinced you to murder? Okay.
Just go for it. Go join the carnival. Murder a motorist. Everything will be good. In 1995, London teen Michael McCallum killed a younger boy after the Ouija board spelled out kill. McCallum claimed Satan had ordered the murder and served time after pleading to manslaughter. In 2001, Carol Slew Elvaker stabbed her son-in-law and attacked her granddaughter after a Ouija board declared the man evil. She then tried to kill the granddaughter by pushing her into traffic.
Oh my gosh.
She was ruled insane and committed to a psychiatric hospital. Can you, like, now we're starting to kind of get, like, relevant.
Yeah.
Like, not saying way back when, it's not.
Right.
But we're talking, like, early 2000s
Yeah,
now.
it's crazy.
In 2007, 2 teenage boys asked the Ouija board if they should become serial killers. The board answered yes and told them to kill mom first. They murdered one boy's mother and sister and then were convicted of murder. In 2012, a Texas teen stabbed his friend and claimed the Ouija board made him do it. The friend survived and the teen pled insanity. Now in 2014, this is a trigger warning. This is another wild story. If you're an animal lover, again, trigger warning, give it about 30 seconds, come back in. I'm not even going to go deep into it.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an overview because it's a rough one. But Paul Carroll killed his family's dog, believing an evil spirit had entered it after using the Ouija board. Now the dog's body backed up a drain, leading to the discovery and the investigation. Later, Carroll's wife and stepdaughter attempted suicide by burning their house down after the board warned them of impending death. They both survived and were convicted of arson.
That's horrible.
That story, I will fill you in when we're done recording, because there's a lot more before it
That's terrible.
blocked the drain. It's nuts. I guess I will say that he killed the dog, but
Yeah.
in a way, I guess it's like it wasn't like torture. It wasn't like he
Right.
tortured.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, again, that's one. Look it up on
It's
your own.
terrible.
I'll fill you in when we're done.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, we're talking 10 years ago.
Yeah. Which is crazy that 2015 was 10 years ago.
Is it crazy that it was 10 years ago, or is it crazy
I don't
that it's time flies?
Both.
Just yes.
Yes.
Donald Hartung was convicted of murdering his mother and half-brothers for inheritance money. A fellow inmate claimed that he said the Ouija board convinced him, but the plan was premeditated, so the Ouija board's influence was deemed irrelevant.
That's absolutely wild. Like, oh yeah, Ouija
Mhm.
board made me do it.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Although, I mean, if you're talking to the wrong spirits, yeah, they're going to try to convince you to do some
Mm-hmm.
shitty things.
Some crazy shit.
That's wild.
Now, I got some, like, I'm going to call them, I guess, like, real world encounter, kind
Yeah.
of, like, non-big news ones, but these are ones from Reddit. We're going to begin with this story from Reddit user,
I'm a stay-at-home dad. Wow.
Oh,
Nick.
wow.
It's just sideways.
I've been up
It's
since
just
4
the towel
o'clock.
size.
It is now going on
You're welcome.
9:30. I've been up since 4 a.m. So, we're going to begin with a story from Reddit user, I'm a stay-at-home dad. How about that, Em?
That's really good.
There we go. Who shared a family legend involving his older brother, Jay. Back in the late 1970s, my parents rented a house that belonged to my mom's aunt and uncle. The same aunt had taken her own life years earlier in the upstairs back bedroom. After my brother Jason was born, my parents decided to use a Ouija board to try and contact her. That does not sound like a good idea.
Right.
The board began answering questions until it suddenly spelled out something that shocked them. MOVJAY. Move J. They immediately moved his crib into their bedroom, and just a few days later, during a massive storm, a large tree branch crashed through Jason's bedroom window right to where the crib would have been.
That is absolutely wild.
How about it?
That's crazy.
Now, all right, Em, pronounce this one, because the next story comes from...
Well, they have a bad word in that one, so that one I feel like is... Well, I guess not if you're talking about actual cats. Yeezy and the Pussycats?
I guess. Again, the italics... I should probably unitalicize it.
I think that's what, yeah.
There it is.
Oh, Yeezy and the Pussy.
Yeah.
The Pussycats.
And this is the kind this is going to stick with you. My mom and her 3 friends were playing with a Ouija board when it spelled out 4 till no more. They didn't understand what it meant until over the next month, tragedy struck. One friend's brother overdosed. Another's father died suddenly. Then came a deadly car accident. My mom and her friend survived, but their driver and close friend didn't make it. After that, my mom had terrifying night terrors, always of a dark, evil figure. My great-grandmom eventually had to perform a cleansing just to get them to stop. She still has scars on her hands from the accident, and every now and then the nightmares come back. It took years for her to tell my sister and me this, and we were told never to touch one of those boards, and we haven't.
Yeah, see, it's things like that where you're like, I don't know how you can deny that.
No.
Like, that's so scary.
Well, it said 4 till no more. Yeah. 4 till no more. And then...
Yeah.
4 people. Crazy.
Yeah.
Then we have an eerie tale from... Look, I can do this one. Full Circle 75.
There you go.
Who had not 1, but 2 unsettling sessions with their mom and her friend in Royal South Australia. Yeah. The first time we used the board, my late grandpa came through. He told my mom he forgave her for getting angry at him back when he was driving and would make mistakes. It felt emotional, cathartic, maybe just her subconscious. But the second time, the board said there were babies buried in our front yard.
What?
Right under the rose garden.
Huh?
That sounded totally random, but my mom checked with the local council and discovered that our house used to be a hospital wing during World War I. There were births there. Possibly even stillbirths. So maybe, just maybe, that terrifying message wasn't as random as we thought.
Right.
Maybe it was a nurse who was coming back to be like, you know what you got under there?
Under that rose garden of yours?
I still don't believe the board connects us to spirits. The first message could have been emotional projections, but the second one, no idea. And finally, we have a short but powerful comment from user Ballmans? Let me unitalicize that. Yeah, Ballmans. Something has followed me around for 34 years. If you think it's a good idea, it's not.
And you want to know what? Good enough for me. Like, absolutely right.
So after talking all the real world stuff, why don't we talk some Hollywood?
Go ahead, Hollywood.
You missed your cue.
What?
Hollywood?
Oh, my bad. You said Hollywood and my first thought was Cole Hamill.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about Hollywood's love affair with the Ouija board. And how it flipped the public's perception of what was once just a curious parlor game. Before the 1970s, the Ouija board was a strange, mysterious, maybe a little spooky, but not dangerous. It had a steady presence in American pop culture, often appearing in comedic or lighthearted situations. Believe it or not, in 1951, an episode of I Love Lucy, Lucy and Ethel hosted a seance.
You ever watch I Love Lucy?
Yes.
I love that show.
I Love Lucy. There you go. You can't say it without saying it. It was funny, not frightening. The board lived on the fringes of the supernatural, more kitsch than curse. Then came 1973. The exorcism changed everything. In the movie, 12-year-old Reagan is possessed by a demon, and one of the catalysts, she's playing with a Ouija board alone.
Perfect. Like, that's so smart.
That single scene rewrote the cultural script. It was the psycho shower movement of the supernatural world. Before that movie, no one was afraid of the showers. Afterward,
Yep.
total terror.
So true.
Same with the Ouija board. Almost overnight, it transformed from a quirky novelty to a demonic conduit. And once Hollywood caught on, there was no going back. In the decades that followed, the Ouija board became a go-to horror trope. It appeared in everything from Witchboard in the 80s to Ouija, Origin of Evil, and even more recently, hits like Paranormal Activity 2. Every time a character unfolded that board on screen, audiences knew something evil was about to get invited in. It became a visual shorthand for impending doom, right up there with flickering lights and creepy dolls. Even mainstream media TV shows like Breaking Bad and Rizzoli and Isles have referenced the board. It's been featured in paranormal reality series, sold on Hot Topic t-shirts, and even reimagined as a fashion statement. Yes, Ouija board bras and underwear were a thing. There are Ouija board apps now. Hasbro, which bought the rights from Parker Brothers in '91, even released a more mystical version of the game in 2013 to match the modern occult aesthetic. Clearly the spooky branding works. But that shift from spiritual to sinister had a real-world consequence too. Religious groups began denouncing the Ouija board outright. It went from interesting to evil in the eyes of many Christian communities. In 2001, people in New Mexico burned the board in bonfires alongside Harry Potter and Snow White.
What?
Not kidding.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, because of
The witchcraft and the spells and all that.
the what does Talani teach? Deviate.
Oh, yeah,
divination.
Divination.
Yeah,
The
divination.
art of divination.
Yeah. Catholic websites call it far from harmless, and Pat Robertson, the host of the 700 Club, publicly warned that demons could use the board to reach people. Even paranormal researchers who investigate ghosts and supernatural phenomena for a living admit to being uncomfortable with it. Robert Murch, a well-known Ouija board historian, says that early on he was told not to bring his antique boards to conventions because they frighten people too much. So now, where does that leave us? Is the Ouija board truly dangerous? Or is it just a reflection of our deepest fears, supercharged by Hollywood's camera angles and clever sound designs?
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm gonna sound crazy, but like I fully 110% wholeheartedly believe in Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
Like fully.
it goes back, I think, to that feeling. You have to like become one with the board. I know, like earlier we said, like clowning around.
It sounds corny, but like, I feel like that's how you have to do it.
Yeah,
like,
it's how it's got to get done. Science says it's a tool of suggestion and the ideomotor effect, the psychological phenomenon where our subconscious movements create an illusion that the planchette is moving on its own. But for many, especially those raised in certain religious or cultural environments, the danger feels real. After all, fear can be just as powerful as faith. Totally believe that.
Yeah.
You can, if you If you scare people, you have power. I don't think it's a good way to go, but it's the way people go. So maybe the Ouija board doesn't summon spirits. Maybe it just summons us, our hopes, our traumas, anxieties. And in that sense, it really might be one of the most dangerous games ever made. Now,
Arguably.
oh, totally. It's totally one of them. The big key thing there, I think, is the anxiety. The anxiety it brings to people playing. A recent study in 2025 dug into the psychological effects of using a Ouija board, especially when it comes to anxiety. Just said it. 84 participants joined in 21 sessions. Each one carefully observed. Researchers measured anxiety levels and perceptual changes before and after each session and paid close attention to whether participants believed in the paranormal. The results were clear. Believers, those who already held supernatural beliefs, showed a noticeable increase in anxiety after using the board. Their symptoms included altered perceptions, dissociative states. In fact, their anxiety jumped by 25.5% among believers. And tests like the Beck Anxiety Inventory showed that up to 74% of that spike could be directly tied to the Ouija board sessions. Non-believers, on the other hand, experienced little to no psychological change. The conclusion: when people already believe in the paranormal, they're more likely to interpret vague and ambiguous experiences as threatening or supernatural. This creates a kind of mental feedback loop.
Yeah.
Expect fear, feel fear, which could have real mental health implications, especially for those who are highly suggestible and prone to anxiety.
I wonder why I'm like, oh yeah, I so believe in a Ouija board. I'm like the most anxiety-ridden person ever.
It's just, I completely agree, but the flip side too, again, if you have a paranormal experience,
Right.
it's your anxiety goes up because you know it's there. You know it could happen. So you're just like, I'm doing this knowing what could happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what really freaks people out. Now, if you're a non-believer, you don't expect anything to happen. So it doesn't go up at all. So I think it really plays on the fact that you're a believer or not. It's not just fear and anxiety. There's also the fascinating cognitive layer to what's happening during a Ouija board session. A separate study published in Consciousness of Cognition explored the ideomotor effect, the idea that people can move unconsciously in ways that reflect their thoughts. Researchers asked participants to answer yes or no questions using two methods: by speaking their answers and by using a Ouija board. When people felt confident in their answers, both methods produced similar results. But when they believed that they were just guessing, their spoken answers were correct only half the time, as you'd expect, by chance. With the Ouija board, though, the accuracy jumped to 65%. That's right. The unconscious responses via the board were significantly more accurate than their cognitive guesses. That suggests that the ideomotor actions, like those used with the Ouija board, may be tapping into unconscious knowledge stored in long-term memory. In other words, the board might not be speaking to ghosts, but it is speaking to something, some hidden information that's already inside your own mind. Yeah, I mean, I totally believe it could be doing that.
Right.
Like in that study, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But for the fact, is it like a thing that summons ghosts and stuff? Yeah. So while pop culture paints the Ouija board as a gateway to the supernatural, science suggests it's just more likely a gateway to our unconscious thoughts. And that's even scary.
Right.
And for some, a mirror reflecting deep-seated beliefs, fears, and anxieties. So we have some poetic perspectives too on the Ouija board. In the article, The Talking Board, Ouija, Wordplay, Poetics, Literary Scholar, Langdon Hammer explores the Ouija board not only as a tool for spirit communication, but also as a powerful metaphor for the creative process in poetry. Hammer forces on the work of the American poet James Merrill, who famously incorporated Ouija board sessions into his poetry. Merrill and his partner, David Jackson, used the Ouija board over several decades to receive messages from what they called spirit voices, which Merrill then transformed into poems. Hammer highlighted how Merrill's approach complicates the traditional idea of a poetic voice. Rather than simply transcribing external spirits' words, Merrill actively shaped and revised these messages, blending conscious creativity with unconscious intuition. These dynamics challenge the notion the poetic voice is something found or dictated. Instead, it is constructed through an interplay between writer and text. Hammer also uses research from a psychologist to explain how the Ouija board creates a feeling that you're both controlling and not controlling the message. This sense of shared control makes the experience feel mysterious and automatic. He thinks this is a lot like writing poetry, where the poet's voice isn't fixed or clear-cut. Instead, it's always changing and can feel like it's coming from both inside and outside of the poet. For Hammer, the Ouija board is a great example of how poetry works by mixing intention with surprise to create something new and powerful.
Yeah, I like that comparison, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. That belief, though, isn't new. In 1916, for example, a woman by the name of Pearl Curran became an overnight celebrity by writing poems and stories she claimed were dictated via her Ouija board by the spirit of a 17th century woman. A few years after Curran enjoyed her wild success, her friend Emily Hutchings had published a book that she claimed had been dictated by Mark Twain, who had been dead for 10 years, via a Ouija board. However, Twain's estate had no part of it and sued the publisher, which responded by ceasing all publication and destroying all copies.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Now, Robert Murch is the world's foremost collector historian and expert on the Ouija. He founded and chairs the Talking Board Historical Society, dedicating decades to uncovering the mysterious origins and history of the Ouija board. His fascination began after watching the horror film Witchboard in 1986, and by 1992 he had purchased his first antique Ouija board. Since then, Murch has traveled worldwide, tracking down descendants of those involved in the board's creation to piece together its fascinating story. He shares his extensive research on his website, robertmurch.com, and the williamfuld.com, and has worked closely with major companies producing Ouija boards today, including Hasbro and USAopoly. He is also partnered with the National Archives, the Library of Congress, and contributed to numerous films and TV shows about the Ouija board, such as Ouija, The Origin of Evil, Ghost Adventures, and The Exorcist. His expertise has been featured in prominent publications like the Smithsonian Magazine and Time. He is a sought-after speaker, frequently lecturing internationally, and appears regularly on Coast to Coast AM. He has curated several groundbreaking museum exhibits on Ouijas, including Baltimore's Let the Spirit Move You and San Francisco Airport's The Mysterious Talking Board, Ouija and Beyond. He even turned his home into a dedicated Ouija and Talking Board museum, fulfilling a lifelong dream. He takes the position that the Ouija board works whether through spirits, subconscious movement, or manipulation. So for over 130 years, they've asked these boards questions and received answers. The big question is where those answers came from. For many, especially those with mental illness or cognitive challenges, boards' messages can feel like absolute truth. This powerful influence has sometimes led to the terrifying and tragic outcomes we've discussed. So here's the thing. Believers will tell you the Ouija board is no joke. Most importantly, always obey the rules, especially these three. Never use it alone, always say goodbye, and never trust who you're talking to. Now, skeptics, they say it's all of our subconscious mind at play. That the fear, the mystery, and the chilling stories are just projections. Whatever you believe, one thing is certain. The stories around the Ouija board aren't going anywhere. And that's what makes it such a fascinating and frightening topic to cover. They still are happening.
Right.
People are still having these experiences.
People are still
and
buying them.
buying them and still going through it.
I feel like it's also the curiosity of it all. Like, it's like Bloody Mary and, like, those types of things. Like, you hear, like, all the stories. Like, you hear stories like this and you're like, oh. And I feel like Ouija boards are so easy for skeptics, too. Because, like, I feel like you're getting one or the other. Like, I feel like it's just such an easy thing to experiment with.
And if you have your own, we say it, I think we've probably said it every week.
Yeah.
You're probably tired of us here saying it. But if you have your own Ouija board experiences, reach out to us.
For sure.
At theominousarchives@gmail.com. We would love to hear your stories. We would love if you want to talk about your stories down here in the archives. This topic is just such a mind,
and it's like
topic.
Widespread.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure somebody's got something.
We know you have stories out there. Email us, get us your stories.
Yeah.
We like I said, we'd love to talk about them. But with all that being said, my throat is starting to kill me.
His voice box
exhausted.
is done.
It's now 10 o'clock,
yeah.
and I have work again at 4 in the morning. So it's time for us to get out of the archives.
Indeed.
Before that, though, go follow us on any of our social medias at the Ominous Archives. Don't forget, guys, we really appreciate it. Comment, like, rate us. It helps us reach more people, helps us get out there. So anywhere you listen to us, give us a like, give us a rating. We obviously appreciate 5 stars, but, it's your judgment call. So yeah, just do that for us. It'll be great. And don't forget to go check out scaremesam.com and her podcast, Scare Me Sam. She is an excellent writer, and her blog is always reviewing some kind of horror, thriller book.
Something to keep you interested, for sure.
If you're into that spooky horror book genre or niche, she's got a book for you probably.
Yeah.
So go check her out. And don't forget to come back next week as we dive into more strange and haunted stories in the Ominous Archives. See ya.
See ya.